Thank you so much, T. I will speak in English actually. But first off, I want to thank you to the New Canadian Workers Association Canada for putting on this wonderful event, and thank you all of you for attending today. So Hun Sing Ji has said such beautiful words, and coming after that is difficult. But I want to expand on something that he spoke about, which was this music called the Hindustani that was printed here in Vancouver. There are pictures on the walls there of the editors of that paper. Hussein Rahim is there in black and white. He was the editor of that paper. And what I want to speak about is that Hindustani paper that was based here in Vancouver. Importantly, it was based in Chinatown. Now, I work in museums, I work in art galleries, I go into the archive and I look for these stories. And there is a silence there about the South Asian story, about the Sikh story, about the Hindu story and the Muslim story. Some of it is ignorance, and some of it is intentional. Now, for the Hindustani paper that was based in Chinatown, in the entire archive of the city of Vancouver, there's no picture of that building where the Hindustani was published. But there is a picture of the building right beside it. And right beside it, you can see that the Hindustani paper that's based in Chinatown, there First Nations, Chinese, Japanese, and South Asians all together, all in conversation, always in discussion. And that makes its way into the Hindustani paper, where Hussein Rahim himself writes that the best food to eat in Vancouver is in the Chinese restaurants, because in the Gore restaurants, they don't serve us. We can't eat them. And it speaks to the intercultural history of Vancouver and the Gadhar movement here in Vancouver. It wasn't just India. It wasn't just Indian America, but in Vancouver itself, it was Vancouver and the other cultures that it was trying to reach. That also brings us to the fact of the Second Avenue Gurdwara. In the Hindustani paper, in the back pages, there is advertising. And it says in the back, the United India League, every week, every Saturday night, is having meetings in the basement of the Second Avenue Gurdwara. The others have spoken so eloquently about the importance of that temple, not just a religious place, a political place, a social place, a political place, all those things. And it was there in that basement on every Saturday night at 7 o'clock that they would meet and have those meetings. And who would come? Bhai Bhag Singh, the man on the second side there. A man who fought for the British, as Sohan Singh Ji mentioned. A lot of people fought for the British. He had come early on in the 1900s. In 1911, he burned his military outfit, he burned his medals, he burned his awards to fight for the Gadhar cause. And he was the first treasurer and secretary of the Second Avenue Gurdwara. He was at those meetings. And as I mentioned in the archive, it's hard to find Indians there, but you will find evidence of money. And Bhai Bhag Singh owned a house right across the street from Second Avenue Gurdwara. So you can imagine that space. Second and Burrard in Kitsilano, Second Avenue Gurdwara, the South Asians living on the side of the street, walking to the Gurdwara every day, the meetings taking place there. It paints the picture of what Vancouver was like. Kitsilano, Chinatown. Within that paper as well too, gender was an important issue. There are many women's pictures here as well too, and in the Gadhar paper, in the Hindustani, that was an important issue as well. Women's equality, women's education. A monthly story in that monthly paper dedicated to that issue was brought up. Two final points. Within that paper itself, there was an article written by Hussein Rahim, Canada as a Hindu saw it, Canada as seen by my eyes. And he speaks about his first experience coming to Vancouver and stopping in Burrard Inlet. And he says, the first things I noticed were the snow on the mountains, on Grouse Mountain, and the trees in Stanley Park. Now that's over 100 years ago today. And we can still relate to that because those geographic spaces, those parks, those mountains are still here. But beyond that, the issues that he was dealing with are still here today. Issues of racism, issues of occupation, issues of inequality. And those are reasons why the Gadhar movement, even though some may say is finished, is still important today, because those ideals are important to fight for. Now, my work right now is in curation of exhibitions on the Kamagadamaroo. For next year, the Kamagadamaroo is the 100th anniversary of that, and I'm working on exhibitions around that. And the Gadhar Party has an important story to that adds into it. And this is an important time period. 1913, 100 years of the Gadhar Party. 1914 to today, or to next year, the 100th anniversary of the Kama Garden Room. After that, of course, the 30th anniversary of Air India. They all come one after the other. And they give us an opportunity to tell the story of the South Asian community that fills in those silences that are in the archive. One final point I'll make is that in this telling of the stories of the archive, in filling out that story, we give voice to future communities, to future generations to know about the story of our history. The Kama Garden Room, the Gadhar Party, become those linchpin moments from what we can tell other stories. Stories of gaining the right to vote, stories of workers' movements, stories of immigration, stories of gender. All those things can come from these moments. And that's why they're important to remember. The speakers have mentioned the fact that when India didn't have independence, neither did Indians around the world have that same right. And that's absolutely true. The South Asians in Vancouver or in Canada didn't receive the right to vote till 1947. And that's important because it links into India's independence as well too. So these stories are all interrelated, and that's the work that's important as well. Not just the stories of one community, but how those communities are interrelated, connected, and always have been.
ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਿਸ ਨਾਲ ਲੜਕੇ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ
ਤਾਂ ਹਰ ਵੇਲੇ ਮਜ਼ਾਕ ਹੀ ਸੁਝਦਾ ਹੈ
ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ
ਆ ਮੰਮੀ ਡੈਡੀ ਨੂੰ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਤੋਂ ਸੁਪਰ ਵੀਜ਼ੇ ਤੇ ਮੰਗਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਨੇ ਮੇਰੀਆਂ ਗੁੱਡੀਆਂ ਕਮਾਈਆਂ ਪਈਆਂ ਨੇ
ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ
ਕਦੇ ਕਦੇ ਆ ਪੇਪਰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਓ ਕਦੇ ਆ ਪੇਪਰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਓ ਮਾਈ ਗॉड ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਦੁਖੀ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਆ
ਬਸ ਇੰਨੀ ਗੱਲ ਤੋਂ ਘਬਰਾ ਗਈ
ਇੰਨੀ ਕੀ ਗੱਲ
ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਨਾ ਕ੍ਰਾਊਨ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਰਾਜਪਾਲ ਹੋਲਟਗਰ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲੇ ਨਾ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੰਮ ਮਿੰਟਾਂ ਸਕਿੰਟਾਂ 'ਚ ਕਰ ਦੇਣੇ ਨੇ
ਸੱਚੀ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਐਵੇਂ ਘਬਰਾ ਗਈ ਸੀਗੀ 9057897744
ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਲੋੜ ਮੁਤਾਬਕ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਲੱਭ ਕੇ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਮਰਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਜਾਂ ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਖਰੀਦਣ ਜਾਂ ਵੇਚਣ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਭਰੋਸੇਯੋਗ ਅਤੇ ਇਮਾਨਦਾਰ ਸੇਵਾ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਕਾਲ ਮੀ ਐਟ 7785527636
मॉर्गेज नवी लेनी है या रीन्यू करानी है तो आज ही मिलो कम्युनिटी के मशहूर मॉर्गेज ब्रोकर सरदार स्वरूप सिंह चंदी होरां नूं रेजिडेंशियल कमर्शियल और प्राइवेट मॉर्गेज विच बचत करने वास्ते भरोसेयोग नाम सरदार स्वरूप सिंह चंदी लाइफ क्रिटिकल इलनेस डिसेबिलिटी और होम इंश्योरेंस भी करते हैं 6045725050 सरदार स्वरूप सिंह चंदी
AAA Auto Body अपने भरावां दी बर्नवी विच वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट ICBC authorized auto body shop जिन्हां कोल एक्सप्रैस वैले सर्विस तो अलावा एक्सपीरियंस ਅਤੇ सर्टिफाइड टैक्नीशियंस भी हैं ते बिना शक हाईटेक कंप्यूटराइज्ड पेंट शॉप बूथ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਫੈਸਿਲਿਟੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸਾਰੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤਾਂ ਲਈ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਡੈਂਟਿੰਗ ਪੇਂਟਿੰਗ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਲੀਜਨ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਲਈ ਫੋਨ ਕਰੋ ਹਰਮੇਸ਼ ਸ਼ਰਮਾ 6042991054 they can handle ICBC claim and inspection independently